Hello, today we're going to be talking about winches. As you can see, we have the Python and the Viper laid out here. One thing we want to point out with each one of these components is this bracket right here. This is what we mount the controller boxes to, and then this bracket mounts to our frame through these holes here. Okay, as you can see here, we have the 4x4 insert on the brush guard removed. The way we remove that is the two carriage bolts on either side of the brush guard. Once you take those loose, you want to come down to the bottom of the brush guard with a 9/16 socket and take these two 3/8 bolts loose. And you don't have to take those all the way out. You can just back them out enough to where you can get the 4x4 plate out of your way. Once you get that removed, you're done with the 4x4 plate. After that, you want to tighten your carriage bolts back up, and then the bottom of the brush guard back up. Tighten those all the way down, and then you are ready to install your cable guide here. And for this Python winch, this is the one that they've provided. So I'm going to use their hardware that they provided and put the lock washer on the bolt head side. I'm sorry, the flat washer on the bolt head side, and then the lock washer and nut on the other side of our winch plate here. And I just want to also point out that the machine we're working on is the gas machine, so it has the winch plate already installed. So this will be a fairly different process to do an electric version of the winch. So once we have these bolts installed on the cable guide, you want to go ahead and tighten those all the way down before you put the winch down. I'm sorry, before you put the winch on, just because you have room to get your wrench on the nut. And then once those are tight, you want to slide your winch in until it lines up with the holes that are already on the winch plate. And then what we're going to do is mount again with their hardware. Just got a flat washer and a lock washer on this bolt, and there'll be 4 of those. And you line those up from the bottom going up and tighten those down all the way. And then we'll talk about how to mount the remote for the winch on the seat bracket area. Okay, now we're on the driver's side of the gas vehicle. As you can see here, we have the bracket for the wired remote plug. I'm just going to flip it over and mark my hole. I'll turn it around so you can see here. I just hold it up, and what I use to line the hole up is I want the edge of the big hole to be lined up with this top rivet here. That just kind of gives me a location of where I'm going to put the remote box here. So, and I went about 1.5 inches from the top, and then the edge of the hole lines up with this rivet. I'm going to mark my holes. The small holes need to be an 1/8 inch hole, and depending on what kind of bits you have there, you just want to find a bit that's going to be big enough to get this through there, but not be too big to where it hits your 1/8 inch holes. In this case, we're probably going to be using a 5/8 drill bit, and then kind of round the hole out a little bit bigger than a 5/8. Okay, and the bracket we were talking about earlier, we've removed it from the plug here. And whenever you remove that, you want to make sure to keep track of 2 nuts, 2 washers, and 2 screws. Okay, as you can see, we've got our holes drilled, and you want to mount this plug where the 3 prongs are on the bottom. And it's fairly simple after that. You just want to work the wires through the hole and line up the rubber grommet on the back side. And then once you have it setting in there, you just stab your 2 screws through and put the flat washer and the nut on the back side. Alright, now we're going to mount the mounting bracket and the controller box to the frame. You want to take the mounting bracket and mark your 2 holes as high up as you can on this upright for the seat bracket, but be sure to miss this top weld here. So you want to mark your holes, and what's going to hold the bracket to the seat bracket will be this self-tapping screw that is supplied with your winch. Before you, after you drill your holes, and before you actually mount it, you want to mount the controller box to this side of the plate, just like this, where the remote is to the outside. And then again, we're using the two supplied nuts and bolts and washers with your winch to mount it. And you want to just put your Allen head through with a washer and a nut on the back side. And there's only two supplied, so once those are tight, you're ready to secure it to your frame, and then we'll talk about running the cables. Okay, now that we have the controller box mounted, you want to plug the male and female plugs together for your remote hookup. And you do that just by inserting one into the other, like so. And then the third wire coming off of your remote hookup, it's actually going to be ran to the controller box, and we have another one here so I can show you. You want to run it to the same terminal as the B plus hookups, so your remote box and then the remote adapter will both go on B plus, as well as your short red battery cable. And we run the red battery cable from B plus to the positive terminal on the battery, and the black short battery cable goes from the B minus to the negative terminal on the battery. And then once those are hooked up, you'll take your long red and black wires and run them from the negative one, the M minus, goes to the negative post on your motor, or I'm sorry, on your winch motor, and that's the furthest inside terminal. And then the M plus is the red wire. It goes from this terminal up to the furthest forward terminal on your winch motor. Once those are all tightened down, we can talk about putting the hook on. Our final step is placing the hook on the end of the cable with the pin and cotter pin that we were supplied with the winch. And then once those are put together, you want to bend the ears on the cotter pin so it stays in place, and then reconnect your negative battery terminal and just verify that it works properly.